Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. Friday the 18th. Man, I did not have the best night's sleep again. No reason why. I just, like, when I woke up, I was like, I feel like crap. Maybe I'm dehydrated. At the moment, I feel pretty good, though. I'm feeling pretty good at the moment, so excuse me. That said, today we've got Tesla will be added to the S&P 500 index after today, and that's a big event. Next week is a holiday week, so, I think that probably a lot of business will be done today. Probably today may be the largest market on close orders ever. And we've had some interesting action this week too, right? So it's been frustrating because it's, so range bound, but I think that in the past days, I just haven't planned it very well. So let's come back over here to the E-mini. Would just point out yesterday, had a really good overnight, a little sad through most of our trading, and then just a little bump up, and then overnight they reached another new high, but it's kind of struggling to hold those prices. It appears to me that, I don't know how you can, like, conclusively prove this to yourself or really say this is what's happening, but it looks to me like major players are distributing. Despite the move higher, I believe that major players may be trying to distribute certain things. And one of the reasons I think that is here in the treasuries, we've had some, during the regular trading session, some strong moves up and, some chasing. Now, notice here yesterday, like, big move up, and then after it was done, they fell back down. And there wasn't really any news attached to that I noticed. So I believe that may have been just a temporary effect from a large buyer coming in and bidding it up, and then I assume they finally got their trade. But that said, here, even in the overnight session today, Friday, it's still large rotations. So we're going to have to keep an eye over there. I think we're going to try market making in the 10-year again. Here's oil. Oil hasn't really done a whole lot over the past day. Gold was doing really well yesterday, but it's still experiencing some upside resistance. I don't know, just from the looks of the chart, and then when you kind of look at the macro context, they'll be able to get above 2,000. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, it's a really big truck just drove by, and copper just looks so strong. Again, like, why am I not in copper? It seems to me like if you want to hedge against the dollar, and the dollar, coming back up, trying to reclaim 90, but not quite getting there, apparently. But it seems to me that if you want to hedge against inflation, man, copper is a great one. Pierre says first. Pierre, just in case I haven't told you lately, we really appreciate you being here on the channel. Newer watcher, and he's been here every day, despite some of my awful days as of late. Love a Trader. Good morning, Seth. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you very much. Yeah. I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, you're probably like a real drag when you're not doing very well. It was like, there's definitely something going on in the E-mini. Like, I am doing something over there that's wrong, and I'm not sure what it is. But I need to not, I should try and make it a little more entertaining. Lizzie, you know what I mean? Oh, man. Okay, now we got current account coming out. We're looking for a reading of 100 and negative 189 billion versus a previous of 170 billion. Blow my nose a little bit here. Aloba asks, could you consider adding RTY to your daily lookup, or is this completely out of your scope? No, it's not at all. Well, let's come over here and look. You know, when I come in, I look at like the volume profile in ES. All right. I wouldn't expect the volume profile in RTY to necessarily tell me a whole lot different from what I can see in the ES. Yeah. So see, it's very, very similar. Still loading the volume profile, but I think what we should do instead. So this is the E-mini compared to the NASDAQ down here on the bottom. We should just add another one, right? So the question is, if we were going to do RTY ES spreads, what ratio should we use? Spread candles. So this one should be ES. And RTY. And I'm assuming that 2-to-1 would probably be somewhere in that area, but oh, okay, yeah. So when you get on there, what does this tell you? Well, this week, mid caps haven't done quite as well, have they? Yeah, for a high level viewer, consider ES views and then conclude for RTY M2K. Yeah. So it looks like, right? I don't know if there's much else we can pull out of it than that the mid caps, the small caps haven't done quite as well. Although yesterday they did pretty good, right? I don't know. That's interesting. That's not quite what I expected. Maybe my spread ratio is not good enough. I'll have to go look a little later today. $47, $195. My ratio at ES and Q could actually be higher. Like over here, I have 1-to-2, but man, what are they doing? Oh, they must be snowing outside. I didn't even look, but it was snowing last night. Must be really bad. So if I come over here and I change this to 4, it seem a little better on that one. Oh, I see. This should be 2. This should be 1. Aha. That's a little better. Oh, it's so when I looked at that and I was like, they're not doing so well. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, no, that's not right. Yeah, that's correct. Mid caps, the small caps did really well yesterday. I remember Zero Hedge saying that. They did okay. And we would expect them to do well when the dollar's falling the way that it is, right? Since some days they do better than ES, RTY appears a bit like dampened versus the ES. Okay. Okay, so the E-mini is kind of on its highs here. So the question I have now, this is a potential short area. Do I want to start making it short? Micah's here, first time commenter. Oh, thank you very much. But that implies you've been watching for a while then, huh? Well, let's come up here and adjust our volume profile stuff. Yeah, we'll do it in the ES as well. Of course, just got the notification. I gotcha. Yeah, for those of you, if you're new, I should be doing this at the beginning of every video maybe, but if you're new or you're watching this on replay, I would highly recommend both subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell icon. And when you click the bell icon, you can actually customize the notifications and you set it to all notifications. And that way you will continue to see the videos and get the notifications when we're going live every day. And I understand some of you might not want to watch it every day, but you also don't want to get into it where it's like, well, I don't watch it every day, but like a month from now, I still want to be seeing it, right? And that's why you do that. So that helps a lot. So the thing here is we had a spike up here. The treasuries aren't really moving around a lot, so I kind of have some theories here, but we're gonna have to might have to use the ES today for them. In the meantime, I want to do something else. This right here. And it's cool, but I'm not sure if I'm really utilizing it effectively. And I think, well, so let's just put some orders in here just so I can see. So like that does not need to be nearly as wide, right? And this can be trimmed down quite a bit, although I think we want to give ourselves room for a couple more decimal points. Okay, and then I think, oh yeah, I can rearrange that. There we go. Wait, why is it not, oh, maybe because there just hasn't been enough changes. We'll mess with that one in a second. But I think that I should add a tape over here. Reconstructed tape in ES. We're on March now. Yeah. Just barely, not quite enough room there. But we can change some of this, right? So display. So the first thing is that we really only need to show like the last 4 significant digits, right? Yep. They've changed a couple of settings in here from last time I looked at it. Oh, I don't have the reverse high low. That's funny. Well, I don't think I really need the time, do I? So I can get rid of that. And then that should allow us to use a much larger font. Well, let's do 5 significant digits. There we go. Like it should be 3714. Okay. And then we can make the display quite a bit bigger, right? Okay. Bada boom. Okay. Now I might add a filter on that. But actually we should. What do you think? Filter from 50? Seth, resting orders lower right of the screen. Where do you receive those quotes? So these histograms down in the bottom right corner are the histograms that I wrote that are available from the NinjaTrader 8 add-on package on speculatorseth.com. And if you go there I have some documentation linked that gives a much deeper look into what they're trying to show. But essentially, I don't know if you've ever watched the, there's like this histogram in the E-mini. It's similar to that, except for one, I have it on a one range chart. And two, I have a different algorithm that tries to show me the extremes. So the whites are like the orders that just simply refuse to pull. And the darker gray are like the orders that are stacking and moving around. It's essentially the way you look at it. Yeah, just http://speculatorseth.com. So, yep. So I've had a few people do the indicator suite. So the way that I'm doing it right now, and my plan is to make it a subscription. So $10 a month subscription gives you access to the indicator, but the suite will work for 2 weeks. So you can try it for 2 weeks, see what you think about it, and then if you like it, you can do it on a month-by-month subscription basis. I've had a few people try it. I will warn you, there might be some hiccups here and there because, only a few of you guys have tried it. And a lot of the process is manual too, by the way. But, yeah. That's why I haven't now know where are we to go. Yeah, that's why I haven't been putting the link in the videos or really promoting it yet, because I still feel like it's in a trial period, So give it a try. And then to activate it, what you got to do is you've got to give you your Ninja Trader machine ID and show me that you're subscribed on the YouTube by telling me your YouTube name. And then I go in and I add it on a month-by-month basis. And you can just email me at speculatorseth@protonmail.com, or, I have a little form there that you can use. Yeah. Anyways, it's nifty. I've written some robots using these, and they do some interesting stuff. I tell you what, they do some interesting stuff. I think that the way that I was trying to use them was a little bit too simple. I'm still kind of testing out some ideas. I'm still at the point of like, okay, so I think I understand something a little better than I did before. Let's try watching it and see if we can develop a trade off of that. And then maybe we can adjust these. Can't imagine this information obviously is a very important resting order. Well, yeah, it is. The reason why I was saying I think that maybe it was a little bit too simplified is that this is showing you the balance between the buyers and sellers. So you will notice, for instance, in the E-mini, when we get those trends that are just like all they do is buy, then you will see that this is just, they stay bid. They stay bid. Yeah, makes sense. But I think that to me, some of the things that I'm more interested in now are like when liquidity, there's a significant change in the liquidity here, Man, they're just going there, huh? So think of it this way. Right now at the moment, if we were to buy, I suppose that I could hit into 37.17, right? I don't know if it's going to continue here or not. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we really don't have any idea whether this trend is going to continue or not. I just know that I want to buy. Where do I do it at, right? Okay. Over here in the 10-year, I can suss this out really easily. I can say, well, look, if I want to buy in the 10-year, there's 3,400 at 28, and that's the low of the regular session, and the larger trend has been up. So I'm not so sure that I would get filled right there at 28. The volume clusters happen, and I know how much liquidity is at each level and how much they're stacking and pulling, then I can kind of estimate how many ticks they're going to move, how many ticks down I can try and take it at, right? Well, how do I do that in the E-mini? I mean, I know that there's a few dozen at each price and stuff. I guess I should be talking about it over here on this one, right? I know that they're trading like 2,300, but what happens if there's a big thing of volume and then all of these guys pull? I could come over here and I could say, okay, 1,000 pulled here. But how do I quantify that in ES when it has to happen at multiple levels? You know what I mean? And how far away is it that it matters or it doesn't matter? Is this where I really need the stacking and pulling columns? Is it the case that the stacking and pulling column is more useful over here in ES? You know what I mean? Okay, is it ask if you look at Bookmap at all? Yeah, so I mean, you guys are showing me Bookmap all the time, and there's guys in Discord that use Bookmap, and I know that it's a popular platform. And I don't see anything wrong with the platform. It looks like it's a fine platform. Um, I don't feel that Bookmap meets my individual needs as well as Jigsaw and NinjaTrader do. Jigsaw is a better DOM, and I very much prefer the way that you develop in NinjaTrader. Really, I'm not a huge fan of Java. It's funny because I remember when I first started in school, the first language that they taught us was Java, and Java is a good language to learn on. And then most of what we did there at school, though, was in C#, and so I guess I kind of just stuck with that. Then when I got into the corporate world, like Java, for instance, used a lot at Goldman Sachs for kind of like any kind of real serious backend thing. It was usually done in Java. And I have to say that on a corporate level, there are some serious problems with Java. And I think there are a lot of companies out there that are dealing with technical debt that they probably don't need to, purely because of Java. Not to mention that the language isn't really very up to date anymore and stuff. So yeah, that's the fact that it's all in Java is one thing that I'm not really a huge fan of. But then there's also just the fact that, I already have my platform and I'm kind of invested over in here, and it would take a really, really major feature to really get me to jump off Jigsaw. And you have to wonder what it would be that would come along that would be so great and Jigsaw wouldn't add it. So the big one that we talk about all over on Bookmap is their stop iceberg indicators. So an iceberg is not necessarily that useful, unfortunately. I don't know. Like, the issue with an iceberg is that once it's seen, it's like it's done and passed. Like, the trade is over. I think if you can predict that there's going to be an iceberg somewhere, then that's maybe useful. But unless you have a really good idea of why that iceberg was placed, I don't particularly find them that useful. I mean, I think that you want to see them, but I don't think that it helps predict future action. Similarly with stops, I would really like to look at stops. I really would, because some of the models that I have over here would really benefit from being able to see stops. And it would answer a lot of questions that I have about the markets, about what orders are market orders and what orders are stop orders, and how do people actually manage certain kinds of positions. So I think that stops would be really, really useful. But I don't think that stops would give me any indication of like where it's going to go in the short term, In fact, the only thing that I have found that has any real usefulness about where it's going to go in the short term is news. News and maybe, well, I take that back, because I've been doing some back testing, and I've been able to work out some momentum situations that have a really high probability of continuing. But that is very much tailored to this past year. So okay, I'm getting a headline on Twitter here. NBC's Hake tweets, House Representative Speaker Pelosi just moved her weekly press conference back from 10:45 to 2 p.m. Eastern time, so maybe that means we will have news on a relief deal by then, just 10 hours before the government would shut down. Donald Trump retweeting Buck Sexton, who is kind of become the lead mask skeptic. That's interesting. Good morning, Ace. Oh man, so yesterday I was I was looking at Ace's strategy again. Well, the thing that continues to perplex me about Ace's strategy is that when I really nail down all of the things that from my understanding he looks at, it doesn't take that many trades. It maybe takes one trade a day. And that's like, well, it's overfit, or I don't know. But he takes it more often than the model actually does. Anyways, I was like, oh, well, let's try and add on to it some of these other methods that I was using. Oh, which reminds me, I need to turn this on. Some of these other robots that I've been writing. So I added all those. And oh my gosh, when I added all of those, it only took like 90 trades through the whole year, but it won 70% of the time. Can you believe that? Equal risk reward, it won 70% of the time. Which is not bad. I'd be happy with 70%. The issue with it, Ace, though, is that that method, again, is very tailored to this kind of like central bank easing action that we've seen the past year. So I don't know if that particular add-on to it would be hyper useful next year. And number two, it just doesn't take enough trades. Like, it's kind of on the edge of like, can we even gather real statistical data from this? 90 trades over a year is kind of, there's not enough. And we're talking, I mean, I don't know how well you've done over the year, but it was making $4,000 over the whole year. I would think that you've made way more than that. So it doesn't perform as well as you do. I guess one thing is that I have a look back on it that's maybe a little bit bigger than what you look at. Good point. 4K is better than a kick in the head, but yeah, one needs more than that. Yeah, it just doesn't take enough trades for whatever reason. I have one. Sorry, I'm like, my lips are peeling here. Oh my gosh. I have one that it's a moving average crossover, but it's much higher time frame moving average crossover. And I don't know where I got it from, because I don't think I came up with it. I think one of you guys in chat gave it to me a long time ago and I forgot about it. I tested it. I think what happened was somebody, maybe it was Live Action, gave it to me. I was like, here, I heard this one works really well. And then I tested it and it wasn't very good. And so we forgot about it. And then I came back and this year it's done amazing. So see, here's a good example where a short, from my understanding, you can't do a short. Well, I guess if we go back further. I guess your short must be based off of some very different stuff. It must not be the ace trade. So must be a different trade than the ace trade. You can do sure. No, I'm saying that by the rules of this, the robot wouldn't be taking it. Even the base robot. There's the base robot that was like just the rules, and no one big thing is that you kind of need like a divergence first. That's the thing that really makes it useful. But the blue line already crossed the green. And if it crosses it again, it's going to cross up, right? I don't know. Maybe I have some things on here wrong. I know I've looked at this before and I'm like, no, we're fine. Yeah, it crossed at 37.16 and a quarter-ish. Yeah, you're correct. I guess you're right. At that time, it would have been a short, yeah. So one of the things that I've been looking at is like how consistent is the volume underneath of it. And at the moment, volume looks pretty consistent there, but it's up. Yeah. So you're late, except the trend has been up, so maybe only look for longs, yeah. Well, and that was what I was getting at is, okay, so we're late, but now when we look at this last 10 minutes since then, maybe suggests up. So this is where, how do I say this? What I think I need to do is make, like, maybe it needs to be on a 5-minute time period. How much volume do we expect to have come in? And then based off of that, and how much liquidity is resting, I can make an estimate about where I should actually put my order. You get what I'm saying? I'm going to do it over here on this one. This delta 1, I'm going to make it transparent. Okay, so I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing an average of about 1,000 orders per minute. So if we were going just, or in a 5-minute period, if we were going just off of the lots, then that means that we could move 10 ticks if it all came in at once. But it doesn't all come in at once, does it, right? So maybe I need to use the per tick indicator. tick up there on the treasury. Cumulative delta per tick. Wow. As high as 9,000. Although mostly to 100. So that means that if we were at 17 and we're looking to buy, then we should be looking somewhere in here. Oh, you went short 37.14.75. I think we should wait for long. Oh, look, that flipped back up hard already anyways. Maybe I'm just getting sick. I got a little bit of gunk in the back of my throat. Maybe that's why I didn't wake up very well. So I'm thinking over here I have like this cumulative delta. I'm going to change that. Gotcha. This right here, I'm going to change it from the cumulative. And will that just show me delta? Yeah. I don't think that's what I actually want. Okay. We'll try that. Oh, I don't want it on the 1 minute chart. Okay. Well, 706. I'm just doing a little bit of math in my head and it keeps coming back out to the average range that we get here. So I think that means right here, right? Ooh. Okay. Now on this other side, treasuries are still on the lows here. Patrick Rooney got his account limited by Twitter, probably because he was talking about Bitcoin yesterday. Okay, well, that one worked out really well for me. Did I get any adverse excursion on that? I did not. Good morning, Lucas. Yep, it's quad witching today. I actually think, I mean, just look at this buy that we've just had come in here, right? I think it's going to be a buy day. There's going to be a lot of buying. There's going to be a lot of having to buy Tesla and everything. After today, then I'm wonder. I don't actually know what's going to happen. I have no clue. I was doing a bit of reading about it yesterday, and apparently, so Tesla being added to the S&P 500, apparently when you add a big company like that, the company tends to suffer after it gets added, believe it or not. And a big part of why Tesla's been moving has been because of the options. And once it gets added to the index, you get all these so many more traders involved in there. I don't think that will work anymore. So, yeah, and that in plus all of the other options gamma that's going on, and the fact that I don't think that we're going to see a whole lot of trade after today until the beginning of next year, kind of makes me think that the markets might be a little sad for the next week or two. Fox News' Lawrence, FDA has not yet given final approval to an emergency use authorization for Moderna. Oh, there's another half to this. Fox News' Lawrence. In a statement, the FDA says it has informed the sponsor that it will rapidly work towards finalization and issuance of an emergency use authorization. This is Moderna vaccine. So that's probably why we moved up the way that we did. So maybe I got lucky on that last trade, catching a news move. What do you think about what Trump said about Morocco and Sahara? I didn't see that. Was that last night? He's been on a tweet storm, apparently. He tweeted so much stuff last night. I don't know if I didn't even read it all. No, I don't see anything about that. I don't know. He seems, so I'm seeing something in Donald Trump that concerns me, actually. It seems to me that Donald Trump is reacting to his supporters. Like, he's going on the Donald and these other places and reading what they're saying and then going along with what they're saying, and not necessarily going off of his own inside information and so forth, particularly as it relates to the voter fraud. And the problem is that those guys are like absolutely insane right now. So like there's this report, Donald Trump will refuse to leave the White House after the inauguration. Well, I highly doubt that it will happen like that. But I think that report may be correct, that at the moment he is talking like he's not going to. You removed him from your Twitter feed? I'm keeping him in there, but I might remove him from the Squawks. Yes, probably will. Republican senators have to get tougher. You won't have a Republican Party anymore. We won the presidential election by a lot. Fight for it. Don't let them take it away. So, yeah, like that. This is exactly the thing, is like, I think there's a really good argument to say that there is some voting irregularities and that there has been evidence presented that makes it worthy of further investigation. But to come out and to just say outright that, oh, we won and we know it's a fraud and yada, 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 is not very responsible, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And I would say it like this. Like, if you're a Donald Trump supporter, you're probably thinking, no, like, you should say just like what we think. And, I think that it was stolen from us and all that, right? But the problem that I think, and it's like, why wouldn't we? That's how you win, I think, is kind of what they're thinking. Well, the problem is that you're focusing the Republicans' attention in the wrong place right now. There is a runoff election. If they lose that runoff election, right, the focus right now should be that Republicans have challenged the election changes to election laws in Georgia and have been shut down by the courts because they say that they do not have standing. So you don't have standing when it happens before, and then when it happens after, they say, well, you should have challenged it before. And these are illegal changes to election laws, unconstitutional changes to election laws, and unconstitutional changes to election laws that are affecting elections and could affect the balance of the Senate and could lead to some very, very bad things happening in the United States. And they're all still concerned about whether or not Donald Trump will be president. When he's not going to be president anymore, guys. I just tell you right now. And so there's this huge party-wide political miscalculation. And why is it happening? Donald Trump. Well, that is a jump right there. I should have held that one, huh? I don't think that this chart really shows me what I want to see either. Back to the drawing board, guys. I'm going to change this back to what it was before. Do you think he is done? Are you asking about Donald Trump? Yes. I don't think that he's going to be president. I think that they're throwing Hail Marys out there, but that there's practically zero chance that they're going to change the result. The idea that politics would have something to do with the economy as an imposter, only the future of the productive forces determines the necessity of the capitalist mode of production. Oh, no, I mean, if he ever will be again. Okay. Wait, let me answer Skilver's question first. The government regulations and decisions very much have a significant impact on companies, especially in the area of taxes. That's money that directly comes out of earnings. And understanding politics is essential to understanding a lot of the moves that we have here in the E-mini. This fiscal stimulus being a great example. Market is moving almost exclusively off of what they think about the stimulus bill. Okay. Will Donald Trump ever be president again? No. So there's the second part, which is, okay, if he lost, then he should run again in 2024 and he should win easily because they won't rig it and yada, yada, yada. So first of all, if they rigged it last time, they're definitely going to rig it next time that he trades it. Like next time that he runs, right? There'd be like extra sure to not give him any airtime and just make it as difficult as possible. Yeah. Well, I am surprised that did not hit my stop. How do you I don't really do Instagram. You can reach me at speculatorseth@protonmail.com. Okay, so that move was a Brexit headline. There's a tweet. I don't have the tweet in front of me. I'll wait for the one of the squawks to retweet it so I can read it to you. That sounds, though, like a fake headline. Wow. That worked really well. I cannot believe that you could not get more lucky than that. 7 ticks adverse excursion and then went up to my target. Jeez. And I wasn't looking at it or anything. There's the kids coming in. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Will Donald Trump... So there's this whole idea, will Donald Trump run again in 2024? And like I was saying, the first thing is that they will not give him any airtime. Okay. It'll be like a big joke if he runs again. But the second thing is he will be like 80 years old. And maybe he will still have a lot of energy then and everything, but I'm sorry. I'm really skeptical that 4 years from now, Donald Trump will be thinking, I want to be president again. So I am of the opinion that Donald Trump should start a news network. That would be the most effective use of his time and capital, would be to start a news network. You know, you got a good decade or so to get that off of the ground, and then you can retire. Why aren't these old politicians retired like everyone else? Well, so yeah, that's actually a good question. Because politicians aren't actually people, right? You have to remember that you literally just cannot get elected without certain power structures behind you. And yeah, one of those power structures is like the support of the middle class, and that's the biggest one. But it's kind of hard to get, they disagree on all sorts of things, and it's kind of hard to get them all to move behind one thing. There's going to be different industries, people that have money in different areas that need different things, and they'll support different politicians, right? Well, some of the politicians that are really successful, like Dianne Feinstein, great example of Dianne Feinstein, okay? She's not a real person anymore. I mean, like, there is a person that is Dianne Feinstein, but the entity that we in the public know as the politician Dianne Feinstein is not a person. It is a collection of interests that masquerades as a person, right? She has advisors that they have hired, and they have connections with certain lobbyists, and it is his own mini power structure that functions without her. And in fact, when she quits, The most likely thing that will happen is that power structure will decide who they want to replace her as the person, and then all of those aides and those people that are already involved in Feinstein's office will move over to the new person. And so it'll still be the same person in office. Do you see? There's this thing, like, one of the things that I'm a very unpopular opinion of mine, and I know some of you guys are going to argue with me on this, is they say we need to have term limits. Well, it won't solve the problem. It won't solve the problem that you guys are trying to solve, because what will happen is the power structure will just move over to a different person, and that power structure will win over and over and over again. And it'll be the exact same thing, because they're not actually people. It's not the individual person that's been in office for 60 years that really matters. That's what they want you to think. Right? The issue is how things are given priority. And if you want to make a change, you're going to have to make it so that the things that you care about end up being given higher priority by these power structures, which means that you have to get together and say, okay, what actually really is in our best interest and not in our best interest, and we are going to work collectively as a group to have those things happen. When a billionaire becomes president, we understand that it's not the virtues and human values of this person that matters. Yeah, well, I mean, Donald Trump is a special case here, because Donald Trump is ADHD and doesn't care what power structures say, which is why he's had so much trouble. Think back to the beginning, like the very beginning. Of course, there was like Democrats and these people that were against him. But really, the way that this all started, maybe when I say this, you will think back about some stories and stuff and go, oh, yeah. Really, this came down to they were pushing this Russian hoaxing before he even got in office. And he started smashing the intelligence agencies. And that's a power structure in the United States that worked against him the whole time. And that was responsible for like almost the entirety of the difficulty that he had as president. Right? Any other person would have kept his mouth shut. But not Donald Trump. He can't help it. He can't help but say to the public, the world, what he thinks about these things. Right? Anyone else will say, well, I need to be quiet because they'll fight back against me. And it's a whole agency, and I don't want to fight with that, right? Donald Trump, that probably goes through his head, but then it comes out anyways. Special case. And that's useful for us. Now people see, right? That's the thing that I think has changed, and that is ultimately make Donald Trump worth it, is that now people see where the interests are out there that are in opposition to them, and which issues they in particular need to focus on, right? I think it will be very difficult for Joe Biden, for instance, to be super friendly with China. Okay, here's the open. That's a lot of volume on the open, guys. There was kind of a little bit of a rise going into the open and then immediately a sell. But the buyers are still pushing. So it's tempting to get involved in here. I think it would be safer for me to get in more like around here if they actually... You understand that being a billionaire allows you to be above a lot of other people? Well, I think you overestimate the political power that a billionaire actually has in terms of like compared to like an entire industry, right? You get what I mean? Like just as an example, what if Jeff Bezos all of a sudden decided that he was unhappy with his life's work. He's unhappy with the things that Amazon has been doing and the political decisions that they've made. And so he stepped down as CEO of Amazon and then went about trying to be a politician to enact laws that are against Amazon. How successful do you think he would be with that? And I think he wouldn't do well at all, because you have the entire, like, he has all of his wealth is in the stock, right? So first thing is he has to sell his stock to even be able to do anything. And meanwhile, it's not just Amazon, but the entire online retail industry that would be fighting him, right? It wouldn't work. And frankly, all of you, because you all benefit from Amazon, being able to skirt taxes, for instance. Most people, I mean, do you not buy things on Amazon regularly? My wife buys a ton of stuff on Amazon, that kind of, and then what they would say, what would they do? They come in and say, oh, hey, Melissa, because of Mr. Bezos and his political crusade, the prices on everything that you buy at Amazon is going to go up like 5-10%. She'll be upset, right? It's kind of interesting we got on this subject today. I mean, it's not directly relevant to markets, but it is. It's just not directly relevant at the moment. Okay, so I don't like that. I'm probably going to get too much adverse excursion on this. Yeah. Okay. So I want to make a larger play here. By the way, why is this not showing me my... not showing the snapshot for some reason. It's weird. Oh, maybe it's because I'm looking at the E-mini and not the micro. Okay, Sherman is tweeting about the deal in Congress. So I need to switch to... Negotiators and their aides are racing to finish up the COVID bill as we speak, working feverishly to get a deal done. A few issues still open. Oh, Travis is buying there, huh? Oh, I didn't notice Tony saying there's ZB in a 7-tick range to past hour. It's been quite tight considering where it was, wouldn't you say? I'm not seeing the same kind of buying support that I was past 2 days. So I'm still thinking that was a temporary buyer that's out of the market now. Because I think the play here is that you want to have been long all week, and then you take your profits at the end of the day today. Is I think what you do. Where are you from? I live in Utah. Well, I think I'm going to have to manage this by hand. I switched. I was doing a good experiment. I think I made some okay discoveries, but now I'm more interested in this larger news plays that they were getting. So I would like to see a reversal up here. Where was the last pivot? Oh my, 37.11 and a quarter. Pentagon head halts cooperation with the Biden team, says Axios News. That's on. Defense Secretary Chris Miller has ordered a Pentagon-wide halt to cooperation with the Biden transition, shocking officials across the Defense Department. Senior administration officials tell Axios. Well, I guess I should note that today, we are seeing a pretty good move in oil. Pretty good move in oil. By the way, where's Gary? I want to ask him about oil stocks because people are talking about oil stocks again. Skilver's from Switzerland. Oh, really? I think you're the first person I've heard from Switzerland. So what do you think about the U.S. Treasury? Well, you were here the other day, weren't you? We were talking about it. But now that I know you're from Switzerland, what do you think about the Swiss franc being labeled as a currency manipulator? I'm okay with what they do, but what? Really? I mean, I trust Reginald more than I trust Travis. Yeah, that's our stop. Oh my gosh. Paul Krugman basically is arguing on Twitter right now that states should be allowed to have unbalanced budgets. That would solve all our problems. States should be irresponsible with their money too. So yesterday we had a similar situation where both Reginald and Travis took trades in similar locations. So I went in to look at it, and I made some modifications to Reginald that made him a lot better, I felt. But Travis, that's interesting. Travis is a little bit more short term. Yeah, he ended up taking it first. And then what ended up being wrong. That's super interesting. Okay, well, they've wiped out one of the major overnight positions. I have to come back and look here now. I guess if we had a really bad day, they could get back to 93, but there's also going to be some support at 3,700, right? Okay, Prime Minister Johnson and EC President von der Leyen to speak in the next 48 hours, says The Spectator. I see. Okay, well, I'm just thinking about this with my robots. They're much shorter term than I thought. Like, I thought 16 takes pretty, but in this action, it's been nothing. And my buddy, my man Reginald, he got that one almost perfect, didn't he? If we can come back over here and show you, like, Reginald went short, but ish. Nothing against him. Perfect trade from Reginald. Travis, on the other hand, in this for a while, I think that I need to create some sort of I'm wrong, or we may just turn, well, let's just run them for a week and see how Travis does. If Travis continues to do poorly, or they continue to take trades in similar areas, we need to investigate that more. They're using similar concepts. It doesn't surprise me that they're trading in close areas, but what surprises me is that they're opposites of each other 2 days in a row now. Also, it surprises me that I'm not getting trades from Sean and Brandon. I'm wondering if I've got a bug in those that prevents it from actually taking trades when it's running on sim. I don't know. I don't know why it would do that. It's kind of weird. Financial Times, for a gleeful consensus on equities sparks concern over quote-unquote groupthink. Okay, so let's read what Scover said here because it was a big long.
Skilver says obviously our central bank manipulates, otherwise the Swiss franc would become much too strong. Our central bank is no better than any other. We were attached to the euro for several years, but it broke. Skilver says we are currently the best at exploring negative interest rates. I reassure you no one is aware. We are lobotomized by consumption and work. Skilver says in the meantime, the Swiss franc is holding up very well in currency depreciation. The Swiss franc was at 1-to-1, now 0.85 court for $1.
Yeah, so I've noticed something that's been happening this past week that's been very interesting to see is that the dollar has been very weak, and it's been weak versus other currencies in particular. But as the week moved on, some of those other currencies kind of started to look a little flaky too. Investors are saying, across the board. And meanwhile, Bitcoin up to 24,000, right? I'm really concerned, though, about when a relief rally in the dollar comes in, how that's going to affect markets. You know what I mean? There is just it seems to me that everything is turned and premised on being short the dollar right now. And so if there's a significant rally, that could like really snowball, What the heck? Is it possible that 34 years on the trading floor makes it tough to get into a game like chess because it's a completely different mental pace? Or that I have a career-induced ADHD? You know what? I'm not very good at chess. I was, man, I mean, I generally consider myself a fairly intelligent person. But I remember playing chess against my dad and always failing at chess against my dad. So then I had a missionary companion that wanted to play chess, and he was like an acting nerd kind of guy, So it was not somebody that I would expect to be good at chess, but he knew how to play it tactically, and he would just destroy me every time. That was when I realized how much of a metagame there really is with it and everything. Okay, well, I've tried that twice now. Of course. I'm just looking at the cumulative delta there, and I'm like, oh, that was so stupid, Seth. Note, by the way, that even though the E-mini like all over the place here, Treasury is not. Oh, come on. Well, it's that. I don't know what that last move down is a little suspicious, to be honest with you. Like, that one kind of looked like news that we're not getting, because I just can't imagine what would be going on right now that would freak them out that badly, because that was really that volume down there at the bottom, that was really quite extreme. I shouldn't have taken that trade that I did there trying to follow the momentum because it was way too much volume all at once. I didn't even realize I totally misread it, essentially. So paper money eventually returns to its intrinsic value. Oh, I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm not really sure if I see a rally on the dollar. Have you seen thousands of billions of money printing? No. There's the dollar has risen today. So from the lows, we were at 89.7 on the dollar index, and now we're at 89.9, essentially. Now that's still below 90, which is where it was yesterday. So that's still quite down. But I am seeing a flight to safety in the dollar at the moment. Note that the Treasury is not reacting at all. Oil, good point, Marty. Oil pushing back in. Oil was taking a really good run, and then whatever it was that happened there also prompted a significant flip in oil. Now, the only thing that I've been getting news-wise has been related to, like, Johnson and the EU president are going to talk at some point here. And I guess that whole thing about them stopping the transition team working with the Pentagon, which I'm not sure is a huge deal, but is a little weird. And what else was going on? There was stuff about the vaccine that was good. We are like just straight up down on this session. Although, this move down is not particularly startling to me. Like, it's still just going in and touching some of the key levels from yesterday because, I had a pretty good move up. So, well, actually, we're below some of the key levels on yesterday, but the value area from beyond that, like, we actually came a little bit short of it. But that was a significant pullback for sure. So I think that we're going to have to manage this a little bit more still. Top negotiators and their aides are racing to finish up the COVID bill as we speak. Oh, no, wait, that was the old headline. The UK is looking for a sign that the EU is prepared to move on fish. Live Action says Treasury's not reacting. Surprise, surprise. I mean, I don't know. So sometimes they react and sometimes they don't, though, right? But we could say that the Treasuries have been kind of been bidding and buying up the past 2 days. So maybe there was somebody that already knew what was going on. RJ Will says fish. It's a done deal then? I don't know. The way that headline went, it sounds to me like that the UK is certain that the EU is going to capitulate on it, right? And that they're just waiting for them to capitulate. Yeah. So I just want to point out that last move. Think the Treasury's trend is over now after these 2 days? Well, I'm not really seeing the same things that we did the other day. I haven't been paying as much attention to it because of that. Anyways, now that we've had this move and all that volume and everything, that means that we're gonna have like the worst case scenario for a quad witching, right? And that doesn't mean that it's gonna be like to the downside. It just means that like it's gonna be a wild ride now because of all that. But I'm still at the point of like, okay, that looked like informed trading, but I don't see any news. It could be technical. Supreme Court tosses out challenge to Trump's census count plan. Okay, I'm not surprised about that one. Cloth Tiger's buying the dip too. Well, with all that said, I guess the trade in the 10-year would be to sell 29.5, right? If you get filled. And then if that fails, then maybe there's more to come. As Kamala Harris prepares for the vice presidency, she is learning from a person who knows more about the job than almost anyone in the world. President-elect Joe Biden. What a fluff point piece, CNN. Oh boy. Conspiracy theorists online now are saying that there was like one nurse in El Paso that passed out, and then they're saying, and then they didn't give it to any of the other nurses there after that. Trump seeking to omit undocumented immigrants from census count. My, oh my. So again, another extreme move that looked like a stop run for the most part. Bouncing hard. They can get back up to 3,700. That would be great. It's kind of funny to be seeing them selling at 3,700 and thinking like, man, that looks awfully dire. When we were like 2 days ago, it was like it was hard to get there, and then they just blew through it. What is happening on NQ? I don't know. Something seems to have spooked the markets, but it may just be a technical move. Okay, so I'm starting to see some moves to eat up liquidity here. Look at all that volume that traded around 36.95. I'm surprised that doesn't result in a bubble for me. I guess I've probably over circle tuner should probably be like a 5 or something. There we go. We'll try that. We'll try 3 for a little bit. Okay, McConnell just making a comment saying, rescue package is very close at hand. Tweets FX macro. Probably quite a few more comments coming in here because it sounds like he's talking to the press. Cool. Yeah, I keep hearing like stuff from Congress, but it all sounds fine. Oh, McConnell's on the floor. Even more optimistic now than I was last night that the COVID deal is close at hand. Cool. Okay, well, that last turn was really long. Like, we're still not even back up to the last pivot on a 1 minute chart. In fact, I should note that I probably shouldn't have been buying any of those. I'm okay with it having bought the dip, but yeah, I should have. There was quite a lot of things I'm noticing now that were like, oh yeah, it was some strong downtrend. Well, I tell you what, if this strikes back, it could be like if this recovers. Well, the first target will be 37.05 and then 37.12, but like this could just like slingshot right back in the face really hard. At the same time, it could fail hard still. I see enough here on what I'm looking at, though, to suggest that we have a pretty good chance of an up move now. In fact, one of my robots might come in and start buying it. Why closing behind the volume node? Good question. It had more to do with, you know what, I shouldn't do that. Let's not do that. It had more to do with the amount that I was making or losing at that point and less to do with anything to do with that particular spot. But then I'm just realizing like price is not normally distributed, and how much you make really has absolutely no significance on how much you end up making. Stock slammed at cash open as quad witching weighs on sentiment, says Zero Hedge. So even Zero Hedge is not quite sure why they moved down. So I think that we should definitely at this point chalk it down to a technical move. Now, the issue with it being a technical move is that what we have had many of these days is a really strong opening drive down and then later bubble up the rest of the day. So Live Action says, okay to measure risk, but trade off the ladder structure. I have to say, though, like in terms of the ladder structure, I have not seen. I really need to look for some empirical evidence about how you should trade based off of the volume profile, because I've heard a lot of heuristics and things that people try to do, but I haven't actually seen empirical evidence that any of those things actually matter. I'm much more interested in when I see something and then trying to predict what the volume ladder ends up being. That's different. Okay, so we have to close above essentially 3701. Oh yeah, I was going to make this other chart and I kind of forgot what I was doing. I'm going to do it over here so we're not covering all that up. So that last little move down there ended up being, how much was that? Like 97, 3,700, 12. Huh. Yeah, so I've been reading this book about market microstructure, and it's interesting because they'll come in and they'll show you things about the way that the market microstructure tends to behave that I don't know if they really matter. I mean, there's like a model, and I'm sure that they incorporate these models into their market making algorithms, but it's like things that seem kind of just mundane to me, like, yeah, of course you don't want to buy there because of this reason and that reason. But they go in and they show you mathematically that it's almost guaranteed that it'll behave that way because of the mathematics of the structure. And they present a lot of empirical evidence. So this is my new favorite word now, is like, okay, so if you have an idea about the markets, what kind of empirical evidence do you have to support it? Because people will always say, oh, and like, it just makes sense. Like, this is the reason why. And that's all you need to know to know that it works. It's like, no, that's a theory. What empirical evidence do you have to back your theory up? Okay. And the word empirical makes it so great because it means these are things that we can like actually observe and verify. Instead, you always use like the word proof and things like that. But now I'm realizing, you can't get away from the word empirical evidence, can you? So my question is, what empirical evidence do we have about the volume profile trades? That it's better to enter on the edges of the profile? Like this one right here, I don't know if I'm going to get it, of course, but I knew that 3,700 was going to be the central area where you're going to see the most action. And then I should expect to see about 4 points away from that, ranging. So I took it. Secretary of State and Governor Georgia both called Republicans aren't allowing Fulton County to go through the vital voter signature verification process. Also, they are not allowing Republican watchers to be president to verify. Okay, so here's something. Dems claim Toomey is blowing up talks. Dem aid and agreement was in sight to deliver aid to the American people until Senator Toomey and Republicans inserted an 11th hour, purely political, unrelated provision to tie Biden's hand and risk throwing the economy into a tailspin. Interesting. So Democrat aides are saying one thing, and pretty much everybody else that's like involved in the Senate is saying something different. And perhaps that is why we moved down. What microstructure book? Haven't you been around when we've been talking about it? It's called Trades, Orders, and blah, blah, blah. Markets Under the Microscope. Yeah, I'll go find it. Trades, Quotes, and Prices. Financial Markets Under the Microscope by Jean-Philippe Bouchard. Okay, so that trade worked out. I'm very happy. Well, man, I don't know. Do you think I should just let it all ride? I think I still have a lot of contracts on. Forever Real California says, when I traded the big S&P, a floor trader told me that looking at volume profile will hinder your logical trading decisions. Less is more. Movement hone on price and how speed of trades. Yeah, so this is I think that kind of comes into two things. Right? Oh, thanks. I'll check it out. Yeah. So I just warn you, there is like some very sophisticated math in this book that is like off and over my head. I don't think that it's not that I can't understand what it is. it's that it's not like casual reading. So like I'm sitting there reading it in my bed and I see all the equations. I'm like, okay, and then what do you get from that? And then they explain the consequences of it, and it's like, okay, but I think at some point I'm gonna have to go back and like write those equations and do the math on my chalkboard myself, and to figure out to make sure that I really understand it, because they're talking about Hawk's processes and all this other stuff. Oh, there's another thing. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I'm really, really interested in this, is that they're talking about the market has a very long memory, or appears to have a very long memory. So like if you have a big buy order, and then you go like 10,000 transactions later, there's like a 0.05% greater chance of there being buy orders, 10,000 transactions from then on average. That's like the empirical evidence. And they were like, well, why? And so they went to a couple of different theories about why and made models up of them, and then showed their empirical research and everything. And they essentially showed that while there is some herding behavior, like people see a big order and then so they decide to buy it as well, that the big thing though is that large participants have to acquire a lot of contracts, and there's not enough liquidity for them to do it all at once. And so they have to split it up over multiple days. And that's why you get some of the behavior that you do. Which, when you start to think about that kind of like if that's the trade that you're trying to take advantage of, then I think you approach it very differently, don't you? Like you're going to want to take it when you're going to want to say, okay, I want to buy it, and it's, there was some selling there for whatever, and there was like no reason for it, then this is a good place to buy, because that the guy that's out there that's trying to acquire more shares is just going to continue to do it, and he's going to try and be as sneaky about it as possible. So every time that you get a good rush up, that's maybe where it's going to stop. Anyways, it's a good book. But that's where I'm just kind of getting at, like, okay, so what empirical evidence do we have on the S&P 500? Or on the volume profile, rather. So then this goes to what... we don't need that, by the way. To what Forever Real was saying, is that, like, well, first of all, maybe there's not any true edge to the volume profile. I don't know. But then the other side of it is that you do need to be able to like execute effectively. And if you're thinking about too much, that can affect your execution, and then it doesn't matter, what other edge that you have there. But like it's a double-edged sword. Like these algorithms, they can execute effectively, and they can do a very, very complicated and sophisticated analysis, right? So I think that for us, the trick is finding something that you can execute off of that's simple enough for you and still sophisticated enough to have an edge, or build tools that do that part for you so that you can execute simply. One thing they were talking about was like, because of the way that the order book has, that you're almost guaranteed to get like these bell shapes in the volume profile. So that, but then I'm thinking, well, I don't know what that tells us though, right? Like, does it mean that on average, if you buy at 36.97, that trade will work out, or whatever the deal is? Like, I don't know. We need to finish that indicator that we were writing that found those gaps and so forth, so that we can try live trade, or we can try back tested trades off of that. You can be aware of the volume profile. It shouldn't hinder your decision, is what I am saying. I am not the smartest man in trading, probably on the lower end of smart. I don't know. Like most of the people that I found that are really good at trading didn't really. It seems to be that if you're really smart, there's some big. There's things that being really smart makes difficult for you in trading. I think one of them being you having too much confidence. I just developed skill in executing right. Well, like you were saying yesterday, you're trading like some of the thinner instruments, right? So I think there's definitely some skill that you can develop just from watching it and seeing how it slides around. So an EU source just hitting the newswire here. Being tweeted by Adam Parsons saying it is impossible to say if we will end up with a deal or not. So the market is just getting really slapped around by headlines at the moment. So that was one sweep down. I think that we probably will get another one. Oh, that didn't actually. Okay, that is the low of this session, but it didn't break this pivot that I'm looking at from days past. Anyways, I think about Futures Trigger 71 because he seems to always have a really good prediction about, well, we'll go to here and then it'll go to here, and then that's when he wants to try and execute. And I'm like, I'm not 100% sure how he comes up with them all. If he actually has empirical evidence to back up everything, every little thing that he says, or if a lot of it is just experience. I might be doing well because I'm not seeking the sophisticated reason I want. Well, no, like you gotta back up because like the question is still, what is it that you trade off of? You know what I mean? Like I think that there's a couple of different levels of it here, right? Like you might see something that just has a really high probability of turning into a profitable trade or whatever it is. I'm not so sure that I have one of those at the moment. Certainly not in the E-mini. It seems like anytime that I think I've found a technical edge, it disappears. And there's certainly not high probability. I got one technical edge that's about 60% now. Equal risk reward 60%. It doesn't trade as often as I would like, but I think the theory behind it is pretty solid. But I would think that if you're doing super well, and especially if you're doing super well over a multi-year period, that it's either because of that or the second level, which is that you are able to just do a very nuanced and sophisticated analysis that takes into consideration things like the seasonality impacts and the news that just happened and all of these other things. And I have lately been leaning more towards a more sophisticated analysis simply because I'm trying to trade off of I say to myself, well, I need to do something that the robots can't do. So in this case, I think the thing that the robots can't do is read the headlines that are coming out and understand how significant or not significant they are. Because what we're getting right now is that all of the official sources sound very, very positive, and then we're getting anonymous sources from people that things are going really poorly. So it's rumor, which means which doesn't mean that it's like outright just buy the dip, but it does mean that you're probably going to get a lot of volatility and big pullbacks off of it. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, well, I should note, by the way, that on a 5-minute chart, we still haven't explicitly gotten a pivot. They came close, but they had to close above like 37.02 and they couldn't do it. Yes, I would fail on the E-mini. I can't get enough movement to get past the break-even performance on most days. Turn chart upside down will solve that problem trading against robots. Well, so I wonder for you, for real, because you said you were like, I think you said NQ, oil, and gold. And I wonder which of those three you do the worst on and which of those three you do the best on. Because I wonder what the impact of trading an index is. I'm starting to think that trading an index is just harder to do. NQ, CL, and GC. Yeah, that's right. It seems to me that it may be more difficult to trade an index than it is to trade something like oil or gold. A commodity, essentially. It seems that on an index that, yes, it's good for like big macro plays, but that there's also a lot of randomness to it, you know? Okay. Commodities are far easier but thin and can be extremely slow, contrary to popular belief that thin markets are fast. Well, yeah, I mean, oil tends to be fast. Gold, on the other hand, it's super thin, but you're right. Sometimes gold can be really frustrating because it rotates around a lot in those areas, but it doesn't actually move for you. Because the one time that we tried to trade in oil, in gold, that's kind of what happened. Is like we had it right, but it was like it just rotated around in like a 20-cent range for forever and ever. It was like it's like the worst parts of a thin instrument and a slow instrument, like the Treasury. Although I also think that there's less volume in gold these days, for whatever reason. I do well all of them indexes as well. YM at times give me issues, but I've never had a month where YM was in the negative, so I reduced to trading those three. I also trade NG about once a week. Okay, so on the how far back would you say you've been doing well though? Like, were you trading NG a year ago or 2 years ago and doing really well with it? That might be really positive right there. $18 months. Okay. So it's enough to make some conclusions, but not completely. Because the trade in NQ this year has been very different from years past, right? But you've also been trading longer than that, right? It sounds like that you've been at this for a very, very long time and know some people that are quite old. CFTC Chief of Staff and Chief Operating Officer Jamie Kilma to depart agency in January. Okay. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty loaded up here, and 2 full ES contracts is a lot. You traded the big S&P in 1996, huh? Wow. You're old term. So I think he's referring to no, he said that it was the index. Oh, I also trade NG about once a week when it moves. I gotcha. Oh, I see where I was. Yes, okay. So if you were to describe your strategy, and I'm not asking you to describe it, but do you think that you would be able to like describe it in like one page? Or do you think that there are a lot of components to it that you just kind of know and you're not 100% sure how you know? Or have you thought about it that hard? Okay. NG about once a week. I think I missed the opportunity there. Dave Portnoy complaining about being shadow banned by Instagram now, huh? I would say I could explain it in one page, yet I would also say that my skill isn't the technical analysis as much as identifying when to hop on and off a trade watching the price action. Right. So, yes. But I mean, is there a specific setup that tells you when to hop on and off? Or is that just your feel? Okay, let me rephrase. If you were to give that piece of paper to me and I practiced it for a month, how good do you think that I would be able to be at it as compared to you? How easily do you think it would be for another person to duplicate what you do? Because I think, especially on the things that I think that I can be good at, like being able to interpret the news and the sentiment and stuff, I think that it would take years for somebody to get the experience necessary to be able to do it like the way I do. And I think that there are things that I see in the treasuries sometimes about how it moves that I can't necessarily explain how I know. But it also gets back to what you're saying about like identifying when to hop on and off a trade, watching the price action, is it kind of turns into this thing that's like, you just kind of know that a certain price is a key area. And because that was the key area, there's going to be rotation as the volume comes in. And I can look at the level 2 and know how many ticks essentially those clusters of volume are going to be able to take out in order to try and position myself efficiently. Is kind of what I think it comes down to. I know a lot of people say that that's price action, but I'm not so sure that's price action. Not sure. Probably not as easy. I think the skill set is the screen time and reactionary skills in managing quickly and letting go of the last trade and forgetting about it. Okay, yeah. So this is one that I have a hard time with, honestly. Like the thing that I think is that I can't seem to figure out is when I should be holding on to it and when I should be getting rid of it, you know? Like I took off a couple of them. Remember when we were up here and we're like, let's cancel that one. We don't want that. And it would have been nice to have taken more off at 37.01, right? But we didn't. And we've come back quite a bit. Now, I'm seeing some positive developments. I still like it along here, but at what point do I give up on it? It seems like I either don't know enough about why I got in to see the thing on the opposite side, or I just don't see it. Because it seems like whenever I'm doing those sorts of things and I'm like, okay, yeah, that was bad. I think I should take that one off. And then it continues, and you're like, what the heck? You know what? I'm watching over here. I should do this and watch over here. Okay.
Gary Smith says noob here. Ahoy from South Jordan.
Wait. Are you saying South Jordan, Utah? Or are you talking about like the country? Well, the south of Jordan. I mean, there's no South Jordan, but there's Jordan, the country. I mean, I might be making like a really huge assumption here that would get me in trouble, but I'm going to assume that if your name is Gary Smith, it's Utah. Yeah. Cool. Well, when the pandemic is over and we have get-togethers, because I live in Centerville, when we have get-togethers, we should add you. You should go and find me on Facebook. I'll add you.
Gary Smith says no, it would be Tanner Jorgensen.
that is a Utah name. Huh.
Forever Real California says maybe this will give you an idea of why my trading differs. I trade a 4-lot strategy. I take one off at 3 ticks, 2 at 4, dot and a runner.
Mm-hmm.
My trades are over in 2 minutes if I don't get the mom.
Okay, now hold up on this one. Where do you stop them out at? Do they all stop out at the same place? How do you manage that? Like if you get in a trade and you never get a favorable tick out of it, and it like immediately goes against you before you can even react, where are the stops? What do you end up losing? Okay, well, we're starting to get part of my setup here. It's not there yet. They're going to have to continue this uptrend. Could Bitcoin see a 30% drop next year? Matt Malley says it could be in the cards. Here's what has him worried. Wow, a negative story about Bitcoin in the media. It's not something I've seen in a while. Well, it sure is ranging in here, isn't it? There's some volume trading here in the 10-year.
Forever Real California says I look at the bar. If it stalls, I cut the trade. I will take them all off and kill the trade.
Ha.
I have a hard stop at 8 ticks, but hit that only once or twice a week. Monty says Tesla will join SP 500 Tears of Joy.
So let me see if I got this gamed out correctly. You take one off at 3, and then 2 off at 4, and then you have a runner.
Forever Real California says once I hit first target, remainder moves to 5 tick stop loss until further management.
Okay. And then there's a certain percentage of the time. Let's see if I can do the math on this. Every time I try doing the math on this, it's like it doesn't work. Okay, so like, oh wait.
Live Action says if you're stop wrong with that approach, your win percent could be too high to be successful. Time can also be a factor.
Yeah. See, it kind of depends on all these things, right? So there's one scenario where you get so you take 1 off at 3 ticks.
Live Action says I did the math years ago, bad approach.
Once I hit the first target, remainder moves to 5 tick stop loss. Okay, so there's one situation where you make the 3 ticks and then you go to the stop loss and you have 5 contracts on, right? So 5 times 3 minus 15. So there's one case where it's minus 12.
Pierre Klotz says no one is letting the winner run here by just moving the stop loss.
Is minus 12, right? Second target and then hits stop is going to be, let's see here, you get 2 at 4, so you get 8, 9, 10, 11. So you get minus 1, right? You get 1 no targets and then hits stop. You get 4 times 8, just 32.
Forever Real California says, hey, if it doesn't work for you, then I guess it doesn't work for you. That does not mean it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, they're just saying. Okay, no targets, and then it hits the stop. And then there's the other scenario, which is that it runs at that point, right? So the other scenarios are going to be that you get +3 plus 2 times 4,
Gary Smith
8,
says just
9, 10,
snagged a home
11.
out that way. Great area. I'll add you for sure. I am the
11
guy that
plus.
found your CH because of the earthquake, lol.
No way. Wait, where exactly did you get a house? In Farmington? I'm guessing Farmington. Oh, you're the guy that added me because of the earthquake. That's right. That's right. I remember because he keeps commenting on the videos. So I should move this one over here because this is the most negative one. You know what I'm saying? So like here we have this system now. Okay, and the question is, how often do each of these happen? Because whether or not this is profitable depends on how often this happens. Let's just
Live
say,
action
for
says
the
it
sake of
Forever Real
argument,
California, not critical, just sharing info.
let's say for the sake of argument that this one, when you do get it, that you get 32 ticks out of it. You know?
Forever Real California says I am not looking for the runner to make the money. I make the money in the first 2 targets and manage my small runner. I don't depend on the runner to make the money.
So then, I'm guessing that if we were to go through this and like game it out, do you know what your average, like, well, I don't know what platform are you using. If you're using Jigsaw, then we can just go and look. Do you know what your average winner and your average loser is? On a per position basis? Because I'm going to guess that your average loser is going to be negative. Well, I think that it's going to be 12,
Forever
and
Real
I think your average
California
winner
says
is
I
just
don't
going to be
use
12.
Jigsaw. Average winner is 87.
$87. No, in ticks. What is it in ticks?
Live action says speaking of stops, my trade's missing, I think I got stopped. Pierre Klotz says for myself, if I don't have any runner, I can T-pay for my losses, got more losses than winner. Forever Real California says yup.
We have
Monty
7
says
ticks.
7 ticks.
Let me rephrase just to be clear, because I don't understand what you were responding to. And I should only ask you one question at a time. What is your average winner and average loser in ticks? Total. Not like per contract, but just total on a position. Average winner, average loser.
Forever Real California says okay, so measuring in ticks varies from market to market, but I would say 8 to 9 ticks on average.
Okay. So on this one you make...
Forever Real California says per 4 contract.
Right. So when I kind of game, just from what you've told me so far, it sounds like that one, the amount that you're looking to take out of the market actually ends up being very, very small per contract, which isn't a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. It means you're going to be more consistent, right?
Forever Real California says,
Yeah.
I am not killing it in the measure of ticks.
And then the split side of it is that you are taking on a little bit of risk, but it sounds like that in the end, because of how you manage them, that it does come out pretty equal, assuming that this, you don't hit any of your targets and it hits your stop. Doesn't happen very often. So the issue that I've always had when I try to oh, by the way, we're definitely getting it now, the setup that I wanted. So I reduce
Forever
risk
Real
fast.
California says, I
Yeah.
reduce risk fast, so I don't get a lot of ticks.
So the issue that I have is that if I try and do a lot of contracts, the amount of times that I stop out on all of them is too high. Like, it should be like a once in a blue moon sort of a thing, and it's like, nah, it happens like, half the time that I lose, and that's no good, right? If this one is 20%, and this one is 20%, and this one is 20%, and then the ones where they go are only 40% of the time, right? So this one is maybe like, well, we got 40 to work with, so let's do 15, and 10, right? Then the math doesn't work out because this is just going to be so much bigger than anything else. Which means that the full stop out has to be very rare.
Forever Real California says, I only fully stop out once or twice a week. Yet I do take losing trades daily.
There you go. You said you reduce the risk quickly, so I would, especially since you're trading a small instrument, it probably is like you get in, those first few fills should happen almost immediately.
Forever Real California says, within 20 to 30 seconds on the first.
There you go. Yeah. That makes sense. So one of the thing that I'm always trying to sniff out is like, okay, so if I have somebody that has a strategy that's profitable, and you
Pierre
don't
Clark
have
says, are we talking S here?
No, he was talking about other instruments, but we don't have
Forever Real
statements, so I
California
can't
says,
verify
in
it that
30
way.
seconds I don't
But-
get first target, I am working on getting out.
Gotcha. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, so he says he has a successful strategy. Where does his success come from? Because I think that people always make this assumption, oh, they're making money, they must have this technical edge that's really good. And I have discovered that there are ways to be profitable, particularly for a few weeks or months at a time, that actually don't have anything to do with having a technical edge on the market. So the most common way of doing that is taking a big stop, right? I don't have the greatest technical edge. Well, so let me define technical. Technical is any edge derived from looking at data generated by the market. Okay. So even if you are looking at how much it moved or how much volume there was or what price it was, it's a technical edge. As opposed to a fundamental edge, which would be looking at news and understanding the fundamentals and the sentiment of the day and having an idea of where they're going to go based off of that, right? Fundamentals would be any data that is intrinsic to the thing that you're trading and isn't generated by the market, but that the market takes into consideration, right? Those would be fundamentals. But there are other edges too. So one edge is being willing to take on a lot of risk. So when you're trading futures, that's kind of part of the edge to trading futures is you get the leverage, right? But some people, they'll come in and they'll do something where they're like, let's just say that you're just trading one contract, right? 4-tick target, 8-tick stop. You're going to win like 80% of the time, right? And of course, at some point, you might come in and you might get like a losing streak of 12 in a row and blow the account. And I've seen that happen like a ton of times. But it might be like 9 months before that happens. And in the meantime, you're making money, right? You're taking on risk, and that's how you're getting your edge, right? Taking on a lot of risk as an edge is, on the long run, a losing strategy. I agree with you, but it fools people, right? That's why the first thing that I'm doing is I'm like, okay, what's your average winner, average loser, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what is like his risk profile actually look like so that I can determine where it actually comes from? So when I look at his risk profile, he didn't say what his average loser was, but it sounded like his average winner and his average loser were pretty equal to each other, right? So that means that because of the profile and everything, it actually is being generated from some sort of technical edge that he has. That these percentages on these work out in a way in his favor because of the technical edge, right? There's another edge, which is time frame edge, right? So maybe you don't take on a lot of risk per trade, but instead, or, comparatively speaking, like you say, I'm only taking 1 point and I'm risking 2 points. You could say, I'm going to risk 30 points. I'm going to risk 30 points to make 30 points, or maybe to make 60 or 90 points. Well, then you're going to be in the market for a really long time, right? Then you're going to be in the market for a really long time, and your edge is being able to hold the contract for a long time, or even better yet, hold the contract overnight, right? Which is also kind of involving taking on the risk of holding overnight as well, right? That's another way to make money. So something that I found a lot of times is people say, well, this is a technical edge based off of a moving average or whatever it is. But then when you look at it, you realize, well, the reason that makes money is because you're in the market most of the time and you're buying, and it's the E-mini. And if you buy the E-mini and you hold it for a long time, you'll probably make money. In fact, probably the best way to make money is to just buy the index fund, right? True. Yeah. So these are ways. So this is why I made that video about expectancy. It's because I kind of touch on all of these things because I feel that most, both beginning and intermediate traders don't always understand if they're making money, why. And like, how do you determine if it's random or it's not random? I get frustrated because I know that a lot of the performance that I'm having is random, especially when I'm taking these discretionary trades in ES. I think that a lot of what I'm getting is random. Like those first two before the open, I was testing a theory. Then once it got going, needed to go further, and I couldn't calculate it in my head quickly enough. But it seemed like there was something to it. I guess one of them that was kind of lucky. But do I have enough data to show that actually works? No, could just be random. The Forever Real California says the initial risk is different than the risk I incurred during the trade. Yeah. Well, that's what makes analyzing it so hard, right? Yeah, the initial risk to me is considered the just in case things hit the fan. Yeah, and I think that if you can manage it like that, maybe something that I should do, or maybe something that I should try on some of my robots is, okay, here's a spot that I'm interested in, and take multiple targets. And if I don't get those targets within a certain amount of time, then I take it off. And so I don't get that really bad loser very often. Yeah, Jason says just increase the sample size to 100 trades and then it's less likely. You're right. And right now we've only done 2. Yeah. But I'm a little frustrated about it because it got too volatile for me to really do it, you know? I'm a little concerned about it if they hit that, so. Well, it's been a good. How long has it been? Yeah, a good 30 minutes since things really fell apart, and now it's just kind of quiet. I've seen it go both ways after a move like this, where it goes dead for a while and then it just gets picked up. But I've also seen it where it goes dead for a while and then they just really fall apart. So Seth, you said yesterday market is random, and with that in mind, can you quantitate a successful formula to randomness? Yes, but not with the amount of cash that I have. So I believe with the information that I've learned in this book that I could probably write a pretty crude market making algorithm that would, for the most part, make money, and with my own management on top of it in terms of like, you know, just cutting it off when there's certain bad news and things like that. I think it would be successful overall. It would be something where it would probably make a decent amount of money every day, and then on a bad day, it would lose, you know, twice as much as it makes on average or something like that. Right. And it would be mostly making money off of the randomness. And the place that it would be picking up the edge would be the ability to calculate on the queue where I need to put my orders faster than a human can. And I think that it would make a little bit, but I don't think that it would be amazing because I would be competing with high frequency bots and stuff like that. But you get what I mean. That would be like taking advantage of the randomness, right? I control my FOMO emotions because I have plenty of others. Oh, there you go. I don't know. Anyways, a lot of the trades that I take, I've only done them with 1 contracts. And because the thing is like, if you really want to say, I think when you're looking at it, there's like, again, there's different levels, right? To me, I see something and there should be a probability that it's going to go the other way there at that spot, right? And within a certain degree of margin, you know? And maybe it's only 55%. I can find those. And the analysis on that is very simple. But once you start to have to factor in like multiple contracts and things like that, the analysis becomes a lot more complicated, right? You can do and you can run it and you can just see what the back tester comes out with, but it's a little bit more, you know, because you are more likely to run into this issue of like, you think that there's an edge in it and there really isn't, or when the market changes, what part of your system is it that's failing and that you have to adjust. I think it makes much more sense to start something with 1 contract, and then when it's successful, then you start to take on these more sophisticated money management methods. Making money on randomness will be to double up on losers until you win, but you need it to be more capitalized than the market itself. Yeah. One contract is so hard for me. You have to be perfect all the time with multiples. The flexibility opened my eyes. Yeah. I know. So the thing is, I've always been all in, all out. That works really well for me in the treasuries. When I start taking multiple contracts and I'm averaging in and out of things, I start to run into issues with this. Like I was saying earlier. Okay, so let's get in initially with 4 contracts, and then I never get a favorable tick and it immediately goes against me, and I'm like, what the heck? You know, and that happens like half of the time. Or like days like yesterday where it happens to me like 6 times in a row, even though like they were both trades long and short. As opposed to a trade like this one where I'm really trying to hold it for a long time. Yeah, you don't average and you only average out. But that's where like from the research that I've done, averaging out does reduce your profits. But it makes it a lot easier to deal with emotionally. Oof. Okay, so there's the new low. I'm not sure if that was dramatic enough or not. It certainly hasn't me spooked enough to not want to add risk on again. No, this is... The ugly drop. I was hearing something on the squawk about Fed's Baynard, but I don't think that should cause that. I tried averaging in and it doesn't work with what I do. Well, it is turning into a big sell-off. I'm still thinking that there could be a relief rally, but doesn't look like I'm gonna get it, does it? There's definitely a couple of curious things I'm seeing there, though. Oh, does this not run when it's freaking in the background? Okay. Well... Do you trade Jigsaw or Dom trading? Well, so I definitely think that there's some edge in the Dom. I kind of question about if I can make it work in the E-Mini Man, because Well, this whole thing that I'm doing right here was just kind of playing around, to be honest with you, but that's a pretty ugly cell, right? And we were kind of martingaling it. Do you use a 2-point spot? So for the ones that I'm really serious about, I'm doing a 4-point stop. That's what we're saying. Like, I actually get it, runners off of it really well. It's just like, how do I determine when they're runners and when they're not? And is it always going to be like that? Because I think that the way that it's worked so well for me in the summer was because I catch such good runners, and it's not going to be like that all the time. Yeah, 4-point stop is good in New York. Yep. I want to be like above the average rotation. I think I've spent a lot of time finding trades that are about equal to the size of the rotation, but that I need to start looking for ones that are inside of the rotation and are really fast. I'm not quite sure what I can look at to try and find them, but anyways. Well, I keep getting like, this feeling that like it's news, but that we're not getting it, Anyways, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, like where's the edge to Jigsaw? I think that the biggest edge to Jigsaw is just the ease of execution, to be honest with you. Being able to execute on the DOM just makes things so much easier, especially if you want to be fast. Let's try messing with it a little bit here, shall we? Most of the traders I know who trade ES for position day trading use 4-point stop loss. Yeah, and we have a trade that's 2 points, but I seem to have some issues with that one. Now the other things that you get, like the other advantage to Jigsaw is being able to see what a wide array of markets are doing at once. Like I can catch this movement out of the corner of my eye, and I can see what's going on. I know that the treasuries just really aren't moving today, right? Because you can see them all across each other at once, and you can see everything that you would ever want to know about the volume all at once. Which again, I think that the part of the trick is knowing how much volume is coming in, and then based off of how much volume will come in the cluster, how far it can actually move in one move. I'm a terrible position day trader. My psyche can't handle. I can't hold a position. Yeah. I don't really have a problem holding on to a trade for a long time, but it's like if you're gonna hold on to a trade that long, then like knowing when to take it off and everything is gonna help a lot, right? Unless you're really got like a really solidly tested out technical signal and you just know what your stop and target is, and you can just set and hold it, which is what I do most of the time. But like one like this, I did expect them to see another stop lower, but now I think that they're going to jump up again, and if they don't, then I will start dumping it. Yeah, it depends on what you hold losers to the very top and winners never to the very top. Yeah, exactly. It's just what will happen to me though is I'm really looking for him to run, and then it doesn't run. You know what I mean? So then you come out and it's like, oh yeah, my winners are like 10 times my losers, but my win rate is like 20%. I've had weeks like that or days like that. Overall, I usually make 32 ticks and risk 16, and that's about average for me. And then when I'm doing well, I'll hit 40%. But it hasn't been this week. This December, so I actually have multiple. So I'm not trading it live right now, and even when I'm not trading it live, I have 2 sim accounts. So this one is like the throwaway sim account. That's why the way I'm on the throwaway sim account is like it'll go against me. I'll keep adding them. Because to me, the thing is like, okay, if I have a move down and there's not a good reason for it, then I wanna add more. And then if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But the way that volume came in the ES, it didn't seem like it came in off of news or anything. It seemed like it came in just because they kind of swooned down towards the low and everybody wanted to take it as she goes. It was a big stop out on ES. Well, it was a lot of volume, wasn't it? And it came down so quickly. Okay, that's good. Algo. I don't know if it was that so much. There's definitely something to, like, when you look at my positioning model, like check this out. This is another perfect example. Right? So pretty bad stop out in the beginning. Pretty bad sell down, and they go for the overnight positions right there. Okay. Then they continued, which surprised me. Okay. They can't get above buyer's cost basis, which is where they're trying to get to. Sorry, seller's cost basis. So what happens? All the buyers stop out, and then it reverses. So now you can kind of game this out. Like, chances are that you'll get this, or you'll get and one of my algos tries to play that spot, but it needs to see a certain thing. It needs to see a certain thing for the algo to think that it's going to jump from here to here. And that's my range trade. Anyways. Okay, there's a big order above us at 36.93. Okay, cancel these. Just because they're so far away that if they were to get hit immediately before I could react, that would probably be a bad thing to get those filled, so. All buyers become sellers at some point, yeah. Anyways, that's a model. You can, if you have NinjaTrader and you want to use that indicator, it's at speculatorsset.com. Free 2-week trial, and then you have to be an elite subscriber to the channel here on YouTube, $10 a month after that. And we're using that to fund development for market by order platform. That's what we're looking to use with that. That's why I put it out. Otherwise, I would just keep it to myself. Actually, I haven't really promoted it too much. Oh, Travis wants to go short, eh? Wait. So are we going to get this same thing that happens again? Well, he's probably going to, yeah. Now I can't. That's weird. That's interesting that Travis is taking a short there. When is it? Why do you guys all want it on? Man. It's so funny. Like I find it so interesting with the trading community. Like Ninja Trader is by far the most popular platform, wouldn't you say? It seems to me that it's one of the most popular platforms. It's certainly the most like that has the highest marketing around it and everything, right? But there's way more of you from my channel on Sierra charts. I mean, it's less initial investment. Like I totally get it. Maybe Thinkorswim. I don't count Thinkorswim in that. I'm talking futures specific platforms. For futures specific platforms, I think Ninja Trader is the most popular. I really do. Anyways. But yeah, you guys, every time that we bring this up, it's all, oh yeah, you do it in Sierra charts. I'm like, but I don't want to write it in Sierra charts. Thinkers of TS is so old. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't like Travis took it there, like the perfect spot, and he's getting favorable ticks on it. It's a little eerie how well he's doing. Do you use TS when there wasn't any other choice? Well, there was always TT, right? It was just maybe too expensive for you. It's gotten cheaper over time, but man, it used to be really expensive. Oh wow, they're putting a big old order up at 3704. Well, you know what? I gotta get going. Let's just or give this today's name is going to be Messy Quad Witching. I don't know if my trading was super amazing or anything, but I had some useful conversations today with you guys. Forever Real was good talking to you. As always, so if you guys haven't checked out the Discord, in the video description there's a link to Discord. You can message me on Discord pretty much any time of the day and I'll get back to you. It goes to my phone. So if you have ideas, things that you want to show me, or things that you would like me to backtest for you, and you of course want to do those things, I keep them completely quiet. Hit me up on Discord because I'm still looking for new ideas to test. I don't know. Anytime that I feel like, I'm like out of ideas, and then I'll do a bunch of programming that day, and then, okay, yeah. See, he took it on the exit on session close. We'll see if it goes more for him. And the first time that he's taking it towards the close of a session too. Anyways, but I would like, and especially if it's like a really reliable short-term edge, and I mean equal risk reward, 70% win rate. That's what I'd like. Like I want to take one contract, equal risk reward, 70% win rate. That's what I'm looking for. That's my Eleanor. That's my unicorn. Okay. Stay profitable, friends. See you Monday.